What's up, what's up, what's up, and welcome back, everyone, to another episode of David Confused. Episode number 11, and we actually have another sponsor. This episode is sponsored by Fieldhouse. Hallelujah! Somehow Fieldhouse has survived. Someone told me through the grapevine that they are reopening soon. I haven't yet talked to the owner, Uncle Lou, yet. He's been MIA for a while, so I got to hit him up and get it verified. But hopefully they survive through this hibernation and we get these shows back going. So this episode is sponsored by Fieldhouse. If they are open sometime in the next couple of months, go there and treat yourself. Welcome back, everyone, to the mass confusion. And I'm barely hanging on because I'm freaking banged up. Like I stated earlier, because of my job as the fastest cannabis delivery driver this side of Mississippi, I'm starting to take on some G-force damage like a NASCAR driver. All those hours in the Prius are starting to add up, and I'm pretty sure I slipped a disc somewhere in the lower back, or maybe it's my hip, I don't know. But slipping a disc sounds better. It sounds fun, more severe. So I'm stretching it out. It's feeling a lot better. But to add on top of that, my money foot, my gas pedal foot, has been attacked. I woke up 2 nights ago and I thought I scratched my foot or something, and I look and there's 2 big ass, just extremely large fang marks right by the little ball of my ankle. It's like they're so big, it's almost like a little vampire bat just crept in my window and snuck under my covers and just freaking stuck me. Probably took out at least half a gallon of blood. You're welcome, vampire bat. It's almost like Spider-Man. It's almost giving me more powers because it's starting to feel all weird, but it's giving me like strangely more nuclear power, like Spider-Man. Wouldn't that be weird if COVID, instead of eating a bat in a wet market, like someone got attacked like from a vampire bat and got COVID that way? I feel like that would just be a way better way of getting like a potentially deadly virus, is if you get it like werewolf style, you know? So I'm recovering from those injuries. Like Kellen Winslow, I'm a fucking soldier. But more health updates on me. I started to take some beef organ tablets. I'm just running through the Joe Rogan podcast right now in the car. And one that he recently did was a guy who was a I think he's a nutritionist. Some kind of PhD in nutrition, I think. But he's a big proponent of eating organs. He said there's a lot of unique nutrients and vitamins in organs. So I decided, hey, I'm going to give it a go. I just got some tablets in the mail a couple of days ago. It's just a ground up powder and a tablet. You got all your essentials: beef heart, pancreas, kidney, spleen, and liver. So I've only been on them for a couple of days. First time I did it, my body didn't really know how to react to such an abundant and rich nutrient source. I kind of felt like I was turning into a werewolf for a second. But I'll keep you guys updated. It's like day 3 now. I think it's making a difference. We'll see. The other thing I'm experimenting with now Waking up to a frosty tundra in my apartment now that it's winter. I can't just keep chugging the coffee. It's starting to wear me down, so I swapped to tea in the morning. Trying a lot of English breakfast tea. Mixing a little Earl Grey, no big deal. A little chamomile in the PM. I got an assortment pack on Amazon for like $8, so I'm trying everything, seeing what sticks. But it seems to do the job. It's nice and warm in the morning. Highly suggest it. I'll let you guys know what I end up going with. Back to my diet. Usually just drink water. I don't really drink soda unless it's with alcohol. Never really have. Probably never will. Unless it's Baja Blast at Taco Bell, which I never go to anyway. But saw a couple viral videos going around of people doing pH tests on the different bottles of water. And I guess you're supposed to be somewhere between like 7 and 9 for optimal human health. That's just what I saw, and Crystal Geyser, I think, fits that range from the tests that everyone's been doing. So this podcast is strictly a Crystal Geyser podcast from here on out. And to furthermore on the pH train, my company just got some office water, and I wanted to figure out the pH of that. So I made some calls, and I asked the company secretary what the pH of their water was, and she was stumped, and she sent me to some distributor. And not to name any names, but it was Colgan Water, Fresno. I think I talked to the head guy, and immediately he was like, I didn't even say anything. You could tell he was like taking offense. He was like really defensive, and I didn't really say anything. He's like, I was like, what's the pH in your water? And he's like, that's irrelevant. My water is pure. I was like, oh, okay. And then I kind of just broke it down to him. I was like, look, I just saw a bunch of these videos on the internet. Like, what is that all about? And he gave me some analogy about like a candle or a match compared to a fireplace. And I was like, oh, so you can't get a pH because the water is just too much. It's like a quantity issue. And he's like, well, it has to deal with temperature and BTUs. And then he tried to freaking punk me a little bit. He's like, do you know what a BTU is? And I was like, Boston Technical University? And he's like, no, it's like how you heat something up. And I said, I thought that was a calorie. Basically, he just kind of like was on his high horse talking down to me, which is fine. But then, towards the end of the call, he said something that I won't forget, and it tripped the wire, and it made me think that he's a fucking fraud. He discredited himself because he said at the end of the day, or at the end of the conversation, he said, yeah, no, that's what I said. I said, well, if the pH doesn't matter, then what about the water bottles like Fiji or like Aquapana that are velvety smooth, and you can tell there's a different texture. And he's like, oh, it must be like minerals or vitamins or something that they add in. And I said, oh. And then this is what he said. He said, oh, well, yeah, all that bottled water is good. I've never had a bottled water that I didn't like. And immediately once he said that, I knew this guy was full of shit. Never had a bottled water you didn't like? Are you fucking kidding me? Let's go to the 99-cent store. It's like you're drinking a freaking bottle full of rocks. It's the hardest water you'll ever drink. Compared to finer qualities such as Fiji or even Voss. So I realized I was talking to a complete incompetent, just idiot, frankly, because he couldn't tell the difference between bottled water. So I just hung up. I'm just kidding. But seriously, I'm only drinking Crystal Geyser. I did see some kind of advertisement, not sure if it was real or not, about McDonald's new plant-based burger, and they're going to call it a McPlant. Fast food chains at the top of the game like that, Burger King, McDonald's, they're literally just trying anything with buzzwords just to get people to buy shit. Like, I'm making a fearless forecast right now. Within the next year or two, they're going to start pumping out CBD nuggets, freaking hemp fries, fucking psilocybin, fucking smooth McFlurries. Anything that's like buzzword in the media that they're gonna like try to exploit or that they can exploit, they're gonna add a menu item. Oh yeah, and did you guys hear that we have a new president, allegedly? This is not a political podcast, but Joe Biden is our new president. It's funny because leading up to it, I noticed that Trump was like pulling out all the stops to get the votes. But the one that really like stuck me in my tracks was the picture of him and Lil Wayne. This is very pro Lil Wayne podcast. He is the best, greatest of all time. I would never in a million years think that he would be taking a picture of Trump, but maybe he's trying to push unity. I'm not sure. Maybe he just got a big check, which is probably the case. I don't know why he did that. I didn't look into it yet, but it's just funny that Trump, you never know who he's going to meet up with next. He met up with Portnoy, Prez a while ago, trying to get the Barstool votes of all the young white kids. But apparently it just wasn't enough. I tuned into CNN and Fox and all the different ones for the first time maybe ever, just to get an update on everything. And I saw like clips of people that are protesting for Biden, protesting for Trump, or just rallying or whatever. And it was so funny because you had one group on one side chanting, "Count those votes, count all the votes." And then you had the other group for Biden on the other side of this kind of like imaginary line. And once the other people would stop, then they would start in, "Count all the votes." So in like a weird brief moment, everyone was like wanting the same thing, but they're still like finding a way to like be against each other. Like they could have just all chanted together and then whoever won, but no. Tribalism at its finest. I also think Trump, he's putting in this little screwdriver in the monkey wrench in the machinery because I think he just threw that out there that he'll never accept the results. I don't think it's because he wants to like run again or be president again. He just wants a reason for guys to not have to take the big ass Trump flags off their lifted trucks. Like as I'm driving around, I see so many of those flags still, and it's like, can you just imagine the day like? What day is it gonna be okay where, or the guy's gonna look in the mirror and be like, I gotta take this thing off? Because if he doesn't accept defeat, then they're gonna be flying those things for another 20, 30 years. Can you imagine in like 2060 There's just this old man with just a tattered Trump 2020 flag on his vehicle. He didn't lose. Shit, at that point, Donnie Jr. or Barrett might be president. Or Kanye, or Joe Rogan. Or fucking who knows. Who would just... I feel like 30 years ago, if you said Trump was going to be president, or even 20 years ago, you would just like laugh it off. Who would be the candidate now where in 10 years you're going to say, oh, they're going to be president, and you just laugh it off? Who would be the equivalent right now? Probably like Flava Flav or Snooki. Snooki 2034. 2036, actually, I think. Snooki Ronnie 2036. One of my best friends, Renee, he understands Bueno calls from Napoleon Dynamite. Sometimes we would answer the phone and say Bueno. That's a little inside joke we would tell to each other, but I actually had that happen to me in real life a couple of days ago. I just got a random number call, and I thought it was someone from the podcast. By the way, I'm leaving my number. Leave me some goddamn voicemails, and I will listen to it on the pod or react to it next episode. But I thought it was someone calling in, and I answered, even though I should have left it to voicemail. And it was just this woman. She just said, Bueno. And I waited maybe like 5 seconds. Then I said, Bueno. And then she said, Bueno. We were just having a Bueno off. And then I kind of just waited and she hung up. More Tales from the Road. Everyone's favorite segment. It's starting to get cold, and people are starting to walk out with more pajamas on and things of that nature. I was delivering to a guy, and he met me on the corner in a robe with a Cheech and Chong shirt and a coonskin hat and nothing else. At that point, I just kind of like throw it at him and like just try to hit him with the delivery. I'm just kidding. You never know who's going to walk out. You never know what they're going to walk out in. You just try to shield your eyes sometimes. I delivered to another guy, and usually I try to make small talk with the person. And I was like, what's up, man? How you doing? And he just looked at me and goes, smooth. It was kind of weird. And then one time I was going to a 4-way stop, and I made some homemade PB&Js for a snack that day. And I was eating the PB&J, and I fucking crunched the shit out of my tongue. And I was at this 4-way stop, and I was like, it was one of those where like I just started immediately tasting blood. It's like, oh, this is probably a bad one. I gotta check it out. So I swallowed my food, and I was like looking at my rearview mirror, and like move my tongue around, trying to kind of figure it out. I'm like, where's the damage at? But I was just doing this for a while. And then I look up, and there's 2 Jehovah's Witness young men that were crossing the road, and they were looking at me, and they just started like running. So I probably look like a freaking psychopath. Joke's on them, I am the freaking psychopath. I'm just kidding. I actually see a lot of Jehovah's Witness late night driving around Fresno. You would never expect it. Like a Friday night, 10 p.m. or 9:30 p.m. I see these kids just dressed to the T, shirt and tie, walking down the street. I was like, that's fucking dedication. Gotta have dedication to get somewhere in life. Those kids are off to a hot start. Kudos to them. If you guys didn't know, I do have that other sports football betting show, Cashball, my YouTube channel. Check that out. Like and subscribe if you haven't. Also with this show, like, subscribe, comment. I feel like a total doofus, dweeb saying that, but do it if you want to help support your boy. Until next episode, stay safe, y'all.